Hey, what's up, guys? This is Mason Fact here. I'm about to do a video on how to build a watch list. Just so you know, this is going to take a little bit of time because basically the idea I have for this video is I'm going to compile multiple videos for probably like 3 to 4 days or so, and you'll see how I go about, um, you know, how I go about the process of building a watch list, uh, how a stock makes my secondary watch list, and then ultimately my main watch list and all that good stuff. And I think the best time frame to truly understand that is probably even like a week or two, but ultimately I think 4 days or so should get the job done. So yeah, if you're wondering about my attire, I just got back from the gym, so that's why I'm dressed like this. But anyway, let's get started because this is going to be a pretty long video once everything is compiled together. So let's get to it. Okay, so I'm using Stocks to Trade platform. I have some scans that are built for the night, and basically the way I do this is I start with my Monday watch list. Well, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to select Tuesday so we can start working on that. Now, as I already mentioned, this entire video is going to be probably pretty long by the time this is all said and done. But I highly recommend you watch the entire thing because nobody else who I learned from ever really explained watch list building like this. And can't necessarily say I have the best tactic to building watch lists, but it took me a lot of time to figure out how to make this process very efficient and effective. And so you can cut your learning curve by basically paying attention to what I'm about to show you here. Because originally, for the first several months when I started trading, I always had this idea that I'm about to show you. It just took me a long time to, originally it would take me probably an hour to an hour and a half to build a watch list, and now I would say it probably takes me 5 to 10 minutes max. So, which is very nice when you don't have to do that much work at night. Now, of course, this is going to take longer because I'm going to sit here and explain each individual ticker, but just bear with me. Okay. So today is Monday, April 1st. This was my watch list for today. AVEO, CFMS, CTRM, EVOKE, IGNG, SRUTF. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to clear out Tuesday, and I'm going to get ready to build this. By the way, you might want to make some popcorn for this video. You're going to be here a while. Okay, so let's take a look at AVEO. Man, this thing really, dang, took a run after hours. I was actually long this stock earlier today, but I sold some in the low teens. I just didn't like what it was doing, and actually I'm very fortunate. I did not realize that they were having news released after hours, so I'm very happy that I was not long, because if the news was bad, it could have gotten destroyed. So this is pretty cool to see that it worked out well for anybody who is long. But yeah, it's a hell of a move there. So I'm going to keep AVEO on my watch list because it is a breakout. And considering that they had positive news, it could have another move tomorrow. I probably won't touch that. But if it gets super overextended, it becomes a possible short. CFMS, I've been keeping this one on watch as well. If you see right here, it's right underneath that breakout level of 295 from this day right here. This one's not that volatile, but I do think if it consolidates for a few more days and does ultimately break out above that 295 $3 area, we could have a nice little move. Not sure exactly to what, but I think that's a pretty high odds trade based on my experience, and limited risk, decent little reward, maybe like 10, 15, 20, maybe even 25%. I don't know, we'll see. But I'm definitely keeping this one on watch. So we have CTRM. Now I'm keeping this one on watch because the other day it went from 4 to, you can see, what is the high right here? About 1850. And now it's all the way back down into the 5s. Because this one was such low volume, there's no guarantee that it does bounce, but I want to keep it on watch just in case it does, just in case it potentially has a first green day, especially since it's would be bouncing off its former lows. So I'm going to keep this on watch. EVOK had a hell of a move this afternoon. Just like all that volume out of nowhere spiked straight up to 2. But I'm really not interested in it for a play tomorrow, considering that it did not hold its gains. But because it had that little run, and because it's kind of breaking out of that little channel in the 150s, and there's a gap to fill up to 3, I'm gonna move it to my secondary watch list. And it's unlikely I play it in the future, but I'm just gonna keep it there probably for a few days, maybe a week, and just see what it does. And that's generally what I do for most stocks that make my secondary watch list. So IGNG, I was actually long this morning, sold some near 17 and then sold the rest whenever it couldn't hold this area. I was looking for a potential first green day. It was bouncing off of, I was looking for it to bounce. You see this right here was the former breakout level, right above 10 cents. It had come down, consolidated here, and then they had a press release this morning. So I was thinking, hey, maybe this could be a solid first green day. It's well off its highs of 35 cents, but ultimately it did not. They don't always work, so that's why you have to understand what your risk is. Because that green day failed, or because this potential green day failed, I'm really not that interested in IGNG anymore, so I'm going to move it down to my OTC secondary watch list. Just in case for some reason, maybe later this week, it gets a lot of volume and has a true first green day. That is what would catch my attention again. But for now, it's going on the secondary watch list. I'm not really too interested in it for tomorrow. And then SRUTF. So this one isn't exactly that volatile, but it's up from 30 to a little bit over 80 today in the course of a few days. And basically what I'll be looking for it to do tomorrow, the only way I would play it is if it had a big morning panic. So I'm not sure, because it's not that volatile, I don't know how big that panic will be. And I'll only buy panics if they're like 30, 40, 50% drops. Don't know if this one can do that, but I'll keep it on watch just in case it does. or even potentially maybe it consolidates in the 70s for a few days and then goes for a multi-day breakout, I would probably trade that as well. But this stock has been hot recently, and as I already said, even though it's not that volatile, it has my attention, and therefore I'm going to keep it on my main watch list. So that's everything from my Monday watch list. I transferred everything that needed to be transferred, to today's watch, or for Tuesday's watch list. Moved everything else to the secondary watch list, and now I'm going to go through and look at today's runners. So I have a nightly scan that I run, and we have AVEO, which is already on my watch list. We have IO. I tend to avoid stocks that are trading around this price range. Yeah, I'm not interested in that whatsoever. It's it was a green day, it was up, but I don't like the price range. There's not even news. The volume wasn't that big, so the float, actually the float's not too bad, but although that may not even be correct. But the point is, I'm not interested in this. I want stocks that are up much more than 17%, generally speaking. So PHAS, this was actually on my watch list last week, and I took it off from Monday, April 1st's watch list because it had this little multi-day breakout here, or first of all, a breakout over this level, then that failed, and then it had this little multi-day breakout, but the volume just wasn't there. So yeah, I just wasn't very interested in it because there wasn't that much volume. So this is moving up nicely. It's just on extremely low volume, and I tend to avoid stocks that are like that. But because this has a very clean chart, I don't know, maybe tomorrow for some reason a bunch of volume will come in. I mean, this is an earnings winner, so there is fundamental improvement in the company. Maybe eventually, sometime over the next few days, maybe the next week, a lot of people will see this news and it'll have a huge move. Maybe I capture that, maybe I don't. I don't know. We'll see. But because it has a clean chart, this is a candidate to go on my secondary watch list, although it's unlikely I'll play it because the volume is so low. Pulmatrix. This actually had a great, I was trying to find shares to short in the 220s, and I'm actually glad I could not find shares because it had a fantastic squeeze above that 225 level up to 3, and I actually tried taking that long but did not get my shares filled, and I do not chase, so but held up most of the day, failed at 3, and then took a little tumble into the close and then after hours. So for me personally, because I'm still not consistently shorting yet, there's really, I don't see anything on the short side based on my understanding of shorts quite yet, and I don't really see anything on the long side. But because it was a big runner today, it traded 58 million shares. It's worth keeping an eye on over the course of the next few days, maybe weeks, so it's earned a spot on my secondary watch list. RWLK, I'm sure this is a reverse split. Yep. Not interested. SELB, I'm already, which by the way, throughout the day, I already saw most of these stocks. So I already knew I wasn't interested in RWLK. I already know that I'm not interested in SELB. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to go over every ticker just so you can get comfortable going through the process yourself. So SORL was up a lot during pre-market and then just, took a dip at the open, just went sideways all day and tried to grind back a little bit. But it's really not that volatile. What was their news today? They announced earnings, but it didn't close strongly, so I'm just not interested in it. SUP. Strong intraday chart, but it's only up 15% on the day. Float's a little higher. Volume is decent, but I just don't like this long-term chart. This is just not something that I'm interested in. TBIO. So TBIO is up on, it appears the press release they had today was that they appointed somebody as their new senior vice president. So, you know, not exactly the strongest catalyst, but nice little multi-month breakout here. Volume was kind of low, but this is out of my price range. The float is higher. I'm not really interested. Maybe it goes up tomorrow, maybe it doesn't. I don't really care. This just isn't my type of play. And I think, you know, as I realized whenever I was constructing my process of building a watch list, I think it's before you figure out, you know, what stocks should be making your watch list, first you need to understand which stocks should not be making your watch list. And so far, all the ones I've gone over on this scan, I hope you notice like some consistent themes among them of why I just don't find any interest in them. So TROV had a big move this afternoon. Well, it looks like some news. Overall, I'm going to say the stock closed pretty strong because, you know, when they released that news at 1 p.m. Eastern time, it just started, you know, going crazy. And stocks can't maintain, you know, a huge move like that. I mean, what's the percentage? I've gotten lazy. Sometimes I just depend on my phone. But, you know, it spiked from, we'll call it 425 to, what, like 580. So that's, what is that, like a 30% move, something like that? Even more than that. So it's roughly like 38% move in 2 minutes of market time. That can't be maintained. Like, you can't, a stock cannot hold those type of gains. So it was just people who were, you know, freaking out about the news, and overall it is good news, but, you know, it took a heavy dip, and ultimately I would say it did close strong. And because it closed strong, let's go look at the daily chart real quick. It was a recent runner. I mean, I could be long this overnight. You know, I don't like how it's so close to this former resistance. Not necessarily, it's still far away, but since that resistance or this day that it had traded so much volume wasn't too long ago, I don't really like necessarily holding these types of green days overnight. But I would not be surprised at all if this continues upwards tomorrow. So this will actually make a spot on my main watch list. I wouldn't mind having some shares of this overnight, but I kind of left a little bit early during power hour today. And the last one on my scan is YRIV. Pretty strong move in the last, what is that, like hour and a half of trading. Doesn't seem to be any news. Not sure exactly where that came from. But really don't like this chart. Float's really high. I'm just not interested. Okay, so now that I'm done with my nightly scan for the listed stocks, now it's time to move over to the OTCs. And because there's 22 results, I'm not going to click on each individual one. I'll just click on a few, but generally speaking, I'll sit here and look at the percentages, and if it's not up over 10%, then I'm not interested. Let's just click on CBDS. I know it's not up over 10%, but I've seen some pot stocks moving a little bit recently. Yeah, I have no interest in CBDS. CLDP, no. CVSI, no. EMBI. Pretty sure this was actually NMUS, NMUS, and they must have changed their ticker recently. Pretty sure that's what happened. Yeah, so, I mean, it's creeping up to this breakout level up here. The stock doesn't seem to be that volatile, though, but I know they've had pretty good news recently. It looks like they had a press release today, so it's up a bit. It's tricky because let's say this did break out above this, what is that, 90-cent area tomorrow. It would be a second green day, and this stock isn't that volatile to begin with. I'm not sure if I would buy that, but because the long-term chart is pretty good, at least over the past few years, it's breaking out of this entire range, and it's proven before that it can go supernova, and there's quite a bit of room until it would meet up with that former resistance around 180. I guess I'll keep it on watch. Very unlikely I play it just because I know that I know stocks pretty well, especially OTCs. They're my area of specialty. This probably isn't going to do much, but I'll keep it on watch because maybe this one time it'll be surprising. Like it'll go crazy potentially. I doubt it though. So EMHCF I'm going to ignore, GBTC ignore, hemp I'm going to ignore, HNHPF ignore, MDXG yeah, I'm going to ignore that. Not that much. Okay, MLCPF. I've actually had this on my OTC secondary watch list for a while. And I know today it was breaking out. And the volume was pretty decent as well. Did they have news? Yeah, they had news. They acquired over 5,000 kilograms of dried cannabis for private label. So, I mean, it's pretty decent news for a pot stock. The only problem I have with this specific ticker is that it's not very volatile at all. So I'm waiting for it to eventually have some volatility, and then that would draw me in. But for now, I mean, there's a reason I'm not long overnight. It's just because this stock has not proven to me that it can be volatile. But it is reaching all-time highs because it was an IPO back in October. But the float's a little higher, although that's not always that important on OTCs. This one just, as I've already said multiple times, it has not proven to me that it can be volatile, and therefore I'm not that interested in it. But it will earn a spot on my secondary watch list for OTCs, and it's actually already there, I believe. Yes. So NXTTF, no, I'm not interested. OOIL, I know that's a pump and dump, and pretty sure it had a multi-day breakout today. But I don't really tend to trade pump and dumps unless they crash like 50, 60, 70, 80%, something like that. But yeah, this is a nice little multi-day breakout above this high. It'll probably squeeze some shorts, go up higher. Hopefully the pumpers can continue to move it up. And who knows where it goes to, but I'll be looking for that crash that will eventually happen. The only thing is I don't even know for sure if I will trade this because the volume isn't that high. The highest it's had was like 1 million shares a day. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm just going to keep it on watch in case it does something that really interests me and I consider to be worth taking a trade. So that'll go on my secondary watch list, which I'm pretty sure it's already there anyway. Yes, it is. So PLNHF, it's up 13% on the day. There really weren't any good OTC runners today. And that's why I want to do this over the course of a few days so you can see what it's like building a watch list over the course of a week and how I move different things around. So this is a little breakout above 175, little multi-month week breakout. Decent little volume, but there's no news. It has former resistance up under 275. Pot just really isn't that hot right now. I've seen some movers on my scans recently, but there haven't been any big ones. I'm really not interested in this for now, at least. Maybe in a few weeks, I don't know. Maybe pot will get hot again. We'll see. But yeah, I'm just not interested in this. SCNA, SRUTF, we already know that's on my watch list. THERF. Yeah, not interested in this. Terrible long-term chart. Yeah, it's really crappy. No news, nothing. And then VRUS. Pretty sure that ran a little bit recently, but it's not that volatile. Okay, I mean, it's creeping up to this little breakout level, but ultimately, it's extremely unlikely I'll trade this, even if it does break out above this 1.8 area, just because it's not that volatile. And traders make money from volatility, and you would have to basically trade this perfectly to capture 20%, and I'm just not interested in that. I want something that's extremely volatile so I can just capture the meat of the move, and it makes my job easier. So I'm not interested in that, but I actually do have it on my secondary watch list just because maybe I'll learn something. I don't know. There's really not much going on in OTC land right now. So I have some few less volatile plays on my secondary watch list just because I want to see if maybe a few days, maybe a week down the road, if they do get more volatile. Because for now, those are the cleanest charts. Okay, so that was it for both of my night scans. Now we're going to move to the secondary watch list for both listed stocks and OTCs. And I'm just going to clean these up a little bit and see if anything is worthy of moving to my main watch list for tomorrow, Tuesday, April 2nd. So we have ADXS. This was a reverse split. Had a nice move today, but ultimately got crushed. I'm really not that interested in it. But because it was up, because it had decent volume today, because it was up a lot, maybe for some reason it sets up for a multi-day breakout in a few days. Like, I already know it's extremely unlikely, but just because it had the volume, it was up, I'm going to keep it on my secondary watch list. I have AEZS. This is a nice breakout, but the problem is the volume's low. I'm just not. I like to buy breakouts on big volume, ideally with news and all that stuff, and as many catalysts as possible. Excuse me, as many catalysts as possible, and this just doesn't have the volume or the volatility that I'm interested in. So I'm actually going to remove it from my secondary watch list. AKTX. This was a former supernova. A couple weeks back, went from 2 to 9. I like to keep former supernovas on my secondary watch list to see if they ever release any meaningful news that could result in a first green day. So I'm going to keep AKTX at least for a few more days, maybe another week. We'll see. But if it can fade, all the way back down to $2, and the company puts out news, it has a good chance of bouncing off of that area. So ATOS was a recent runner. I'm pretty sure this went up a lot during pre-market and then spiked. I'd be keeping this on watch for first green day. But it's really just kind of found a bottom here at around 330, and it's kind of holding that for now. I'm going to go ahead and take it off of my watch list because the only trade that would interest me on that is a first green day swing overnight, and I would definitely see that on my intraday scan. Therefore, I don't need to keep it on my secondary watch list. I like to keep things as clean as possible. And when I refer to some other green days, like sometimes I'll be looking to predict a morning spike, and that's why I keep them on my secondary watch list. We have BPTH, which obviously has been this year's top supernova. 2 to what, 73 or 74 or something like that. I'm keeping this on watch just because, you know, this is bound to have a solid first green day at some point. Don't know when. This is a little bit out of my price range, but because it has proven it can be extremely volatile, and because it went from 2 to 74, this is staying on my secondary watch list probably for at least a couple more weeks. CSSE was a nice breakout. I'm pretty sure to all-time highs. Yeah, nice breakout the other day at all-time highs on really good volume for this stock, but then it got crushed today. Or not crushed, but I mean, it was down a decent bit. It's a little bit outside my price range. I don't love it, but because it hit new all-time highs the other day, because it's not down that much, maybe it consolidates for a few days and tries to start breaking out again. Because it was an earnings winner as well, so that is a fundamental improvement in the company. I'll keep it on my secondary watch list. I'm just pretty sure I won't be playing this, but we'll see. I don't know. Maybe it'll surprise me. So we have Dare. Dare had a ton of volume the other day, but has just faded since then. Dare throughout, I mean, I know Dare well because I've been around for, you know, a year and a half, coming up on 2 years in a few months. Just hasn't really proven to me that it can ever like have a true first green day or a multi-day run. Maybe a long time ago before I ever started trading, but I just don't really like this ticker. It always gets crushed. The only reason it was on my secondary watch list because it traded like 50 or 60 million shares the other day, but now I'm just no longer interested in this stock, so it's coming off of my secondary watch list. D-Car. I know this was spiking because of like Uber and Lyft wanting to go or wanting to do their IPO, which Lyft has gotten crushed, by the way. That's why you don't buy IPOs. I don't have a statistic to back IPOs, but man, from my experience, they get crushed like 80 or 90% of the time, so you should not be buying IPOs. That's just my 2 cents. Yeah, it had this fake out breakout and then got crushed after that. Looks like they filed a 424B SEC filing as well, so that means I'm sure that there's shares out now. Not really interested in DropCar anymore, so I'm going to remove that from my watch list. DERM, DERM. This went up a ton the other day, over 100%. I'm pretty sure it was all during pre-market. And now it's just kind of consolidating here. The problem is the float on this one's a little higher. I know the news was really good. I just don't think it's that volatile. At least intraday trading, it's not volatile. It got extremely volatile during pre-market, but intraday it's just not that volatile. I've kept it on my secondary watch list, but now I'm sitting here looking at this a little bit more. Even if it broke out above that $15 level, I would almost certainly not trade it. So I'm going to take it off of my secondary watch list. EVOK, we already added that. HYRE, it's probably the exact same thing as D-Car. Yeah, it's coming way off its, or not way off its highs, but it's off its highs. I'm going to remove it. Hasn't proven to be that volatile. It It was spiking in sympathy to Lyft and Uber. I'm just not that interested. JAGX, Jaguar Health. This is always been a good runner in the past. I had this big move the other day. Now it's off those highs. I would love for it to break out above that 50-cent area. It was up, I think at like 1.35% today, but this one never has the tendency to have a multi-day breakout, but I'll probably keep it a few more days just in case it surprises me and it creeps back up to that 50-cent level and then looks to break out again. But most likely it just continues to fade away. This stock has the tendency of having big one-day runs and then just getting crushed forever. I mean, we can go look at the long-term chart. Just spike, spike. I mean, it's just like, and they've done a lot of reverse splits, so this chart is a little misleading. But I know this stock well, and as I said, it has great one-day runs and then gets crushed. PHAS, we already put that on. PULM, we already put that on. SFET, I actually bought this the other day. Had a nice trade on that. That was the only trade I took all of last week. I bought this at $3, sold it at $4. But it ultimately got crushed. I'm really not interested in it anymore. I'm going to take it off my secondary watch list. SLNO. So this one had a huge move a couple weeks back, and now it's just fading away. Traded 80 million shares on the day. I don't remember what the news was. It's probably, it might have a first green day at some point, but it's just been fading away so slowly as well. I like to look for stocks that go supernova and then get crushed off their highs in just a few days and then look to bounce. Kind of like, I'll look up IGC. Back when the marijuana stocks were running, this is a perfect example. You'll see how it goes supernova and then it has 3 days where it just gets crushed in a row. And then it's green, and of course this first green day didn't work in this instance, but generally speaking they tend to. Maybe it would have spiked back up to like 10, on that second green day. But that's the type of price action I'm looking for, not what SLNO is doing, where it's just like had all this volume and now it's just getting crushed and just fading away very slowly. So I'm going to take SLNO off of my secondary watch list. SRNE, I know this had a multi-day breakout last week. So it had some volume and then a multi-day breakout, moved up, went to 650. Now it's consolidating in the 4s. Let's go take a look at the long-term chart. I know this video has probably been boring, guys, but this is a video. People have been asking me for a while to make a video on this topic and other topics as well. And try to, get things out a little bit more consistently. I've just been doing a lot of traveling the past few months. But basically, you can see from the past the stock ran, but the float's a tad bit higher. I think it's extremely unlikely that this stock comes back and breaks above 650. And if it even got near that level, I'm sure I would see it on my secondary or on my intraday scan. So I don't really think it's a worthy candidate of sitting on my secondary watch list anymore. So I'm going to take it off. And the last one is TYHT. Had a little bit over 20 million shares traded the other day. It's kind of creeping back up to that level. But breakouts like this, let's say it breaks out over that 150 or 160 area, those don't tend to work based on my experience. I've seen like 1 or 2 work ever. So I was just keeping it on watch. But now that I'm going over all this, I want to clean up this watch list. There's no reason for it to be there, so I'm taking it off. All right, the last part of this, we're going to go down to the OTCs and look at this secondary watch list. So we have CMGO, which has sort of been like a little supernova, and the OTC penny land's just been very slow, grinding up. Traded this a little bit on the way up. Fell 50% from 3 to below 150. Now it's just consolidating. It's probably gonna have to consolidate for a couple weeks before, if it even does break out above 3 cents. Just realized I'm saying a lot. Probably because this is not this is not the most exciting video. I'm boring myself doing it, but it is necessary, and I'm happy to help you learn this process because it took me a long time to learn how to make this process efficient. And what I'll probably do, I'm still kind of figuring out the direction I want to take for the rest of this video. I'll probably go over the same go over the watch list building process in this exact same manner the next couple days, but perhaps the last day I'll just do it without any sort of commentary, and you'll see how quickly this can get done once you know exactly what you're looking for, what you're not looking for, how to move things around from your secondary watch list to your main watch list and all that stuff. So CMGO, I think I'm going to go ahead and just take it off. It's not that volatile. CRSM. Yeah, not very volatile. I'm taking CRSM off. EDXC, this one had a run for a little bit. Even this one's not that volatile. I'm going to keep it for now just because it's holding up. Maybe in a few days or like next week or something, it can break out above that 40-cent range. But this stock in general, I don't like its personality. I'm big on stocks having personalities. And this one, every time it breaks out, it just fails. Or it just takes like a couple more days to break out. I don't like that. I'm looking for more volatility. Maybe it changes if it breaks out above 40 cents, but it's extremely unlikely. But like I said, for now, I'm going to keep it on my secondary watch list. EMBI, we already put that one on there. EMIS. This one went from 5 to like 850 over the course of a few days. Now it's just consolidating. For now, it's boring. I'm going to take it off. GDET. So this one went sub penny to over 2 a couple weeks ago. Now it's like holding a penny. I'm going to keep it for now. Unlikely to trade it. I'll probably take it off in a couple days. But just because it's holding a penny and it's held that area 3 times now, maybe it has another big volume day, and in a week or so it could break out above that, what is this level, 225-ish, 230-ish area. Unlikely I trade this, but I'll keep it on watch because it did trade a little bit over 80 million shares a couple weeks ago, which that's decent volume for a little penny stock. IGNG, we already put that on there earlier. IRNC. Oh yeah, this one ran a couple hundred percentage points the other day, but now it's just gotten crushed. I'm not really interested in it anymore. Take it off the watch list. JSDA. Yeah, not volatile, not interested. LFAP, this is one that I'm going to keep on my secondary watch list for a while, unless like this 12-cent area gets taken out. But I'm just waiting for them to have the right news and the right amount of volume and for it to break out above this area up here. But this was extremely impressive. I think I've only seen a stock do this like once, where it had this huge move, then got crushed, and somehow, came back over the course of like a week and a half, 2 weeks, and broke out to new highs. That was extremely impressive. So it's proven that it can be very volatile. If they come out with the right news, it gets the right volume, it can break out above this area and go for another big run. So I'm going to keep this one on my watch list for a while, most likely, unless it starts taking out this area and hitting new or fading away a little bit. MLCPF, we already put that on there. MXMG. Looks like this one a couple weeks ago was potential breakout above this area. Failed. Now it's fading. No volume really. I'm going to go ahead and just take this one off of here. NGTF. Another one kind of like, what is it? EMBI. Had this breakout, decent volume. Pretty sure there was news. But it just failed. Now it's like coming back to this area, consolidating. Looks like it's perking up just a bit, but hasn't really been able to hold breakouts. I know it's a former supernova. I mean, it was breaking out a that was a multi-year breakout right there, and it failed, so that sucks. But because it hasn't gotten crushed too bad, I'll keep it on my secondary watch list for a while and see if it can, get some volume and start hitting new highs. OOIL, we already established earlier that was on my secondary watch list. PRED. Bunch of green days in a row. Now it's consolidating a bit. Pretty sure this has former resistance. Yeah, around 4. Spiked at 3. I'm not interested in it. I don't remember why I put it on there originally, but I'm taking it off. Puff XF. This one sort of went supernova. Just took a long time. Faded off its highs. Man, there's been a lot of these stocks in the OTC penny land that just have been moving. They're just not very volatile, and I like volatility. I don't like trading these boring stocks. I know it's near its highs, but it just bores me to death. I don't really like this ticker. I'm going to just take it off of my watch list. REFG. So REFG had a nice move the other day. Now it's consolidating a bit. It looks like it might even be able to perk up and start testing that 5.5 resistance again. The volume was a little low. Not positive I'll play this one because I like more volume if I'm trading these little piece of shit penny stocks. But interesting price action. I'll keep it on the secondary watch list for now. SHMP, this was the this stock. I used to own 1 million shares around a penny. And no, I did not hold it till $1. Man, I wish I could have that one back. Never would have obviously been holding that long, but it's just crazy to think that I used to own 1 million around a penny and it went to $1. I'm keeping this one on my secondary watch list. Actually, no, I think it's about time I take it off. I've been waiting for a really solid first green day. Just haven't seen one that I like. I'm going to take it off for now. If it does get a lot of volume, have good news, stuff like that, it'll end up on my intraday scan anyway, so I'm not too concerned about it. VRUS, I think we mentioned that one earlier. I'll keep it on there, just see if I learn something, but it's not very volatile. WNDW. Had some volume the other day, nice spike, but this long-term chart just sucks. Even if this had a multi-day breakout right here, probably wouldn't do anything, so I'm done with that. I'll take that off the secondary watch list. And lastly, ZMRK. Had a breakout on some decent volume this day. Pretty sure that was all-time highs. Not quite, but well, sort of. These charts are tricky. I don't even really consider all of this to be anything because the volume was so low. But then it was a fake out, breakout. Now it's just consolidating a little bit. Man, OTCs have just been boring recently. I'm going to take that one off just because it's not doing anything. Okay, so you have it. The watch list for Tuesday is AVEO, CFMS, CTRM, EMBI, SRUTF, TROV. That is it. I appreciate you taking your time and watching this video. And of course, this is only part 1 of the next few days. So as I said, I got a bunch of requests. I've had a lot of requests in the past about going over the watch list building process. I'm finally deciding to do it. So I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed doing it for you. I hope you realize I'm kidding. This is like very boring. But I am happy to help. If you have any questions, just let me know. And follow me on Twitter, where I post my watch lists every single day for free, no strings attached. I don't really care. I don't really want to get into the teaching business, but I'm happy to post some stuff occasionally and help people out because I know I'm very lucky to have people who help me out on my journey. Anyway, guys, hope you have a great night. Take care and get ready for the upcoming videos the rest of the week. Alright, see you guys.